Hey fellow Vault Dwellers, it's Angry Turtle, and today we are talking about VATS. From the very simple tricks to very advanced ones. And if you only care about the advanced trick that I learned after 5 years, honestly I didn't figure it out earlier and only with your help. So I will put on the screen right now the timestamp where you need to scroll forward, as I want to cover VATS from the very basics up to very advanced tricks. So that's basically what VATS do. When you target enemy, you can see the percentage, the chance to hit the enemy, and when you use VATS, your AP will be consumed. That you have AP in the bottom right corner. Even if you just stay in VATS doing nothing, AP will slowly drain. If you need a very basic information like what button to press to activate the VATS, by the way, VATS is always available. It's Vault-Tec assisted targeting system. Everyone, even new player, has access to that. If you scroll down on the help menu, you can see VATS, and it will state your basic buttons. They're always the same. For me, it's Q on the keyboard to activate, tab to exit, mouse 1 normally to fire, and other basic information, but let me go back to the game and start adding a little bit on top of it. So, you probably know that basically if you target just the enemy, overall enemy, but you can go into more advanced VATS mode if you will equip concentrated fire. That's a really important perk if you want to start your adventure with VATS. It lets you target particular limbs of the enemy. And if you equip higher rank than rank 1, what it does, it mainly increases your chance to hit the target with consecutive hits, as well as a little tiny bit of extra damage. Tiny bit as it's 3% if you max it out, so tiny bit of extra damage. For most people, rank 1 will be sufficient and very helpful. As well, when I open VATS, you can see enemy resistances. That's because I have awareness perk card equipped. So this perk lets you see those. Not essential, as you can just remember them. They will be always the same for the same enemies, but early on, very handy to figure out what is the strong and weak side of particular enemies. Then, on the bottom of the screen, you can see the button mapping in case you forget it, so it's still there. I can use mouse scroll to target particular body parts of enemy, and they do have those little green bars. Those green bars are not connected to enemy health at all. This is health of particular limb. When this green bar will go to 0, enemy will not die. Enemy's head in this situation will be crippled. It can die if simultaneously the red bar on top will go to 0. But if it will not, enemy will not die. And now that was a miss, because I have 60%. So it can be hit or miss. Now enemy is dead, as I have enough damage to kill it in one shot. If I would choose a weaker weapon and shoot the head, too strong weapon. Sometimes on the weapon you will see this legendary effect that says 50% extra limb damage. It doesn't increase overall damage that you do to the enemy, but helps you cripple it faster. Back to the weapon that I have ammo for. If I press a crit bar and shoot, it's a guaranteed hit regardless of my hit chance. And at this moment you can see the left arm of this ghoul is completely crippled, even though the ghoul is alive. That's the difference between killing enemy and just crippling. His arm crippled, he can no longer attack with this arm. If you cripple enemy leg, enemy will not be able to move much. It will move way slower. So this ghoul now have one leg crippled, as you can see how much slower it is when it's trying to move around. Different body parts, different effect on enemies. Now, if you didn't notice, if I select head on this one enemy, exit my VATS, enter it again, the head will be pre-selected. So it makes your life easy. But if I would target enemy that do not possess a head, it will retarget back to the torso, as torso is a default, and I would need to use the scroll to get to head again. If you look on the bottom, you can change targets. Not everyone know about it, but if you don't get the right target in VATS and you want to change, you can by pressing change target button. Just wait before you fire like half a second, as it's usually changing with 0% hit chance. What else you should know, and not everyone knows it, when you have the critical or you don't have it, you don't need to press the spacebar or crit button on your controller every time you want to use a critical. You can just hold it down and every shot that you fire will be a critical. So let me demonstrate that. Let's say I target torso. I press and hold crit button. I fire. Retarget for the next enemy. I keep holding even outside of VATS. So you can see every time I fire, the critical will auto-activate. So you don't need to keep pressing, you can hold. And as you were able to see, my targets were auto-swapping. So maybe that's a good moment to cover other cards related to VATS that you should know about. So the card responsible for targets to auto-swap on kill is Gunfu. I have it equipped, I have it maxed out. Outside of auto-swapping targets, every next target swapped from that will receive more damage from my shots, which is very handy. Additional card, very handy with VATS, is Critical Savvy. This one will result of your criticals only consuming 55% of the critical meter bar on the bottom that you can see is being drained when I use critical and then refill with each shot. How much it refills with each shot depends on your total luck. So we are not talking about luck that you can see in here, but we are talking about luck when you open your stat page and special, then you have luck. You need 33 luck and critical savvy equipped to get critical every other shot. You can have less luck if your weapon will come with legendary effect on 3rd star plus 15 bonus VATS critical charge. What that means, it's basically 15% extra critical charge with each shot. That's a bonus. The 5%, it's a default. So with this 15, you're getting 20% critical charge per shot plus 1.5% per each point of luck. The most important part to remember, if you have 33 luck or more and critical savvy equipped, you will crit every other shot, and that's the maximum. The crit cannot recharge from crit, even if you will have perks under luck equipped that say that on kill, okay, I will show you example. Something like 4-leaf clover, each hit in VATS has an excellent chance to fill your critical meter. It can only trigger when VATS crit is not full, so you cannot have crit, crit, crit. It's always crit, non-crit, crit, non-crit, crit, non-crit. That's the most you can do every other hit. It cannot be crits in a row, no matter what you do. That's why this perk card, unfortunately, is not very useful. The second very useful perk card for crits is Better Criticals, as it gives you plus 100% damage when you crit. That is a lot. You can probably already guess that that is a lot, even though it's additive damage, which is not doubling your damage, just adding the base amount of your weapon damage on top of whatever you are already doing, but still a lot. Next thing you may experience when shooting in VATS, and if you have in settings damage numbers on, you can see sometimes damage are yellow, sometimes damage are white. You may think, when you see a yellow damage numbers, that it's better than white. And in case of a lot of enemies, it is true. But, unfortunately, all that it means, for whatever reason, it's confirmation that you hit a head. But we are in Fallout universe. outside of humanoids, other enemies have different weak spots. So head is not only sometimes not a weak spot, but sometimes it is a tough spot, like in case of robots, and you will still receive yellow numbers, but you will be actually doing very little damage because you are aiming for head. Head, not always the best, so switch on those damage numbers, shoot different body parts of the enemy, and see which one are doing higher, which one are doing lower numbers. That's how you can learn about all the enemies, as I cannot list them all right now. Now you probably noticed that I'm wearing a power armor, and if you keep attention to my fusion core, it's lower now than it was before. That is because firing any weapon in VATS when wearing a power armor will drain your fusion core. It does cost energy, and amount of fusion core being drained depend on how much AP, which is action points, your weapon is using and how much you fire. So more AP cost on the weapon, the faster your fusion core will drain. So you can see if I would decide to use this weapon in VATS in power armor, my fusion core will be literally melting. Now, if you wonder about your weapon accuracy in VATS, it's mainly determined by two factors. You may think that VATS accuracy on the weapon card is important, but actually it's not really, at least not much. The important aspect is range. Longer the weapon range, the better the VATS accuracy is. On top of that, VATS accuracy is determined by your total perception. More perception and more range on your weapon, more VATS accuracy. That's the simplest form. There is more you can do to improve the VATS accuracy. I think I even have a dedicated video for this topic, but those are two most important factors if you want to improve your VATS accuracy. And now, finally, the most advanced trick that I just learned myself. And I'm a little bit ashamed to say it took me 5 years. For whatever reason, whoever designed this game decided that it's a good idea to make a jump button and VATS critical button the same button. But you can change it. And there are two benefits for changing it. As you can see, I did change it. Let's open Settings, Controls, and scroll down. You can remap jump. I don't know why, but you are not allowed to remap critical button. So it always needs to be spacebar for me. But I did jump as my left alt. It's possible to do the same thing on any console. The thing is, you will see your console buttons. And what you need to be careful about, you cannot use any button that is already used inside VATS for your jump. Just choose whatever is free. If you open VATS, as I said, on the bottom of the screen, you will see button mapping. Don't use those buttons, use other button. And now I have left alt. What can I do? And why is it so important? Now, as I have this left alt sign, and spacebar is no longer jump, so I can press spacebar and nothing happens outside of VATS. So what I can do now, I can put weight on my spacebar button, like physical weight, or use a duct tape, whatever, to put it down. And then I absolutely don't need to press it inside VATS to get criticals. Every time I enter VATS, it will be a critical. And now let me show you why is it so important. And here I will be using a coffee spam, as coffee is a very unique AP regeneration item. Short duration, but it will continue regenerate your action points when you are inside VATS. Other stuff do not do that, but coffee does. The regular AP regen that lasts for an hour or 30 minutes, this will not work when you are already inside VATS. Coffee will. And now, look what's possible and let me know if you knew you can do it. Let's pop some coffee. Let's jump, fly, enter VATS, and look what I'm doing. I'm flying why inside VATS I can jump and fly when I'm already inside VATS. And auto crits. I can target anything, I can be high, so Ganfu has easy time as I'm flying. So Ganfu has an easy time to keep with enemy swaps. As well, it's super handy when you want to chase a flying Scourge Beast and she refused to fly low enough. Oh, my AP drain up. The jetpack is draining AP really fast. There is one trick with a jetpack to have AP for longer, but that requires to have very low actual AP and then rely on coffee, and I have dodgy equip as well, which is not helping. Not helping with AP. So I can fly, I can jump, I can do all of that while inside VATS. I have no clue that is at all possible before I remap my buttons. And I was so hesitant to do it. I eventually did it, and now I can do those amazing tricks as well as I can put weight on my spacebar to have auto crits at all times. I do personally think auto crits supposed to be a setting in game menu, so you don't need to press any button and whenever the crit bar is full it will fire, but it's not a setting. The one thing that will change, you can see now on the workbench it says left alt to modify and not default, which is a spacebar. And again, when the game is asking you about confirmation when you want to do something, it will now, like normally it's a space to store. If I hold it down, most of the actions can be replaced by E button or keyboard, which is standard action button. If I need to confirm, I don't need to use the spacebar, and it being pressed down at all times doesn't seem to cause any negative effects and do not auto-confirm any action. It just doesn't do anything outside of VATS and auto-crit inside VATS, which is super handy, and the ability to jump and fly while actively inside VATS is huge. I cannot describe how much fun it is and how helpful, especially with Ganfu target swapping, as Ganfu will fail to swap a target if there is some obstruction on the way. There's basically no obstruction if you are flying, and if you are flying without power armor, you don't need a fusion core, so if you have regular Secret Service jetpack, that's even more fun. And now, if I missed anything and you have some questions about VATS, let me know, and I will try to answer those in comment section. And now, as always, thank you all for watching, and see you all in the next one.